One day she's texting you nonstop, talking about the future, making you feel like you're the center of her world. And then, almost without warning, she becomes emotionally distant, cold, and unrecognizable. The affection fades. The warmth disappears. The woman who once couldn't go a few hours without hearing your voice now responds like you're just another name in her contacts. To most men, this feels like a brutal mystery. Feels sudden, unfair, and impossible to explain. You replay every conversation, every memory, every moment trying to pinpoint what went wrong. How can someone who claimed to love you so deeply seem to detach as if none of it ever mattered? How does a woman go from planning forever with you to acting as though you were only a temporary chapter in her story? The answer is both unsettling and revealing. Emotions rarely shut off overnight. What looks like a sudden disappearance of feelings is usually the final stage of a process that began quietly, long before you noticed anything was wrong. Attraction does not typically die in one dramatic moment. It erodes gradually, almost invisibly, through a series of small psychological shifts that most men never detect until the relationship is already beyond repair. By the time she says, "I just don't feel the same anymore," she is often expressing the conclusion of an internal journey she has been taking alone for weeks, months, and sometimes even years. While you believed the relationship was stable, her perception of you may have been changing beneath the surface. Respect may have been weakening. Emotional certainty may have been fading. The image she once held of you as a strong and dependable presence may have slowly dissolved without a single obvious event to warn you. That is why breakups often feel like an ambush to men. What feels sudden to you may have been emotionally rehearsed in her mind countless times before she ever said a word. She did not wake up one morning and randomly lose feelings. More often, her attraction leaked out in silence, one disappointment, one unresolved tension, one shift in perception at a time, until the emotional reservoir that once connected her to you was nearly empty. And when that reservoir runs dry, the woman who once looked at you with admiration can seem like a stranger standing in the exact same place. This is the hidden reality many men never understand. They assume love is lost in a single moment, when in truth it is often the result of an invisible pattern unfolding beneath everyday interactions. The danger is that these changes are subtle. They rarely announce themselves loudly. They appear in reduced enthusiasm, diminished respect, shorter conversations, less curiosity, and a growing emotional distance that is easy to dismiss until it becomes irreversible. In this deep psychological analysis, we are going to uncover what truly happens when a woman loses feelings. We will break down the slow fade of attraction, the role of emotional safety, the importance of respect, and the behavioral patterns that cause a woman to stop seeing her partner as the man she once admired. You will learn why emotional detachment often begins long before the breakup, why some men are blindsided while others recognize the warning signs early, and how subtle shifts in perception can quietly transform love into indifference. Most importantly, you will understand the hidden triggers that drain attraction and how to recognize when the emotional tide is pulling away before you find yourself standing alone, wondering how someone who once loved you so deeply could walk away without looking back. Stay with me, because once you understand this process, you will never view "she lost feelings" as a random event again. You will see it for what it really is. A slow psychological unraveling that leaves unmistakable clues for the man who knows where to look. Most people move through relationships on instinct, reacting, assuming, repeating. But a few choose something different. They pause. They observe. They understand. If you're the kind of person who questions patterns instead of blindly following them, who wants clarity instead of confusion, awareness instead of reaction, then you're exactly where you need to be. This isn't about taking sides. It's about seeing things for what they are, without distortion, without ego. If that mindset speaks to you, subscribe and stay connected. Add your perspective in the comments. The conversation matters here. Background work. No narratives. Just deeper understanding and better decisions. To understand why feelings fade, we must first look at a psychological concept called hypergamy. This is a behavioral trend where a person naturally seeks a partner who they perceive as equal or superior in status, strength, or character. In relationship dynamics, A woman's feelings are often tied to her level of respect for her partner. If she feels that her partner is a leader, someone who is disciplined, grounded, and has a mission in life, her attraction stays high. But if she starts to see her partner as weak, lazy, or overly dependent on her for his happiness, her respect begins to drop. Once respect is gone, romantic feelings cannot survive. You cannot love someone you do not respect. It is like trying to build a house on sand. The foundation is too weak to hold the weight of the relationship. Another major factor is the loss of emotional safety. Many men think safety means physical protection or paying the bills. But for a woman, emotional safety means knowing that her partner is a rock who won't be easily moved by her moods or by the stresses of life. If a man is constantly seeking her approval, getting easily offended, or acting needy, she begins to feel like she has to care for him like a mother cares for a child. This is a massive attraction killer. When a woman feels she has to lead the relationship because the man is too passive or too emotional, her brain stops seeing him as a romantic partner. She might still care about him, but she is no longer in love with him. She has shifted from being a partner to being a caretaker, and caretakers do not feel passion for those they protect. Let's look at the story of a man named Brian. Brian was a very nice guy. He did everything for his girlfriend. He drove her everywhere, paid for every meal, and always asked, "What do you want to do today?" He thought that by being perfect and never arguing, he was keeping the relationship strong. But over time, his girlfriend became cold. She started spending more time with her friends and stopped touching him. Brian reacted by trying to be even nicer, which only made her more annoyed. Eventually, she told him she lost feelings and broke up with him. Brian's mistake was that he had no frame. He was so focused on pleasing her that he lost his own identity. He became a yes man, and a woman cannot stay attracted to a man who has no backbone of his own. Because Brian didn't understand the psychology of leadership and attraction, he pushed her away by trying too hard to hold on to her. He learned that being nice is not the same as being attractive. We also have to talk about the death of mystery. In the beginning of a relationship, there is a lot of excitement because there is a lot to discover. But as time goes on, many men become predictable. They stop chasing their own goals, they stop learning new things, and they spend all their time on the couch. Behavioral observations suggest that attraction thrives on a bit of uncertainty. A woman needs to feel that her partner is a man of the world, someone who is busy and has a life outside of her. When a man becomes too available, he loses his value in her eyes. It is the psychological principle of scarcity. Things that are always available are seen as less valuable. If she knows exactly what you are going to say and do every single minute of the day, her brain stops being curious about you. When curiosity dies, the spark of feelings usually follows. Another trigger for losing feelings is unresolved resentment. This is a slow poison. It happens when small problems are never truly fixed. Maybe the man promised to work on his temper or his health or his career, but he never actually did it. Every time he fails to keep his word, a little bit of her trust disappears. Women often communicate their needs through small hints or complaints. If a man ignores these for years, the woman eventually reaches a breaking point. She stops complaining, which the man thinks is good, but in reality, she has just given up. She has decided that he will never change, so she starts checking out emotionally. By the time she actually leaves, she has already spent months mourning the relationship while still living in it. We must also look at the comparison trap. In today's world of social media, everyone's life looks perfect online. If a woman is feeling unhappy or bored in her relationship, she might start looking at other men's lives on her screen. She sees the highlights of other people and compares them to the behind-the-scenes reality of her own partner. This is a dangerous behavioral trend. It creates a sense of the grass is greener. She starts to wonder if there is someone out there who would appreciate her more, let her better, or make her feel more excited. This mental wandering is often the first step in losing feelings. She is no longer all in because she is mentally shopping for a new reality. Observations of human behavior also show that a woman's feelings are often tied to her social environment. If her friends are all single and having fun, or if her family doesn't respect her partner, she will start to feel the pressure to leave. We are social creatures, and we are heavily influenced by the opinions of those we love. If a woman feels embarrassed to be with her partner because he isn't progressing in life, she will protect her own status by detaching from him. She wants to be proud of the man on her arm. If she feels she has to make excuses for his lack of ambition or his poor behavior, her feelings will evaporate to protect her own self-image. Understanding these patterns is not about being angry at women. It is about understanding the nature of attraction. Attraction is not a choice. You cannot tell someone, "You should love me because I am a good person." Feelings respond to triggers, not to logic. If the triggers for attraction, respect, leadership, mystery, and growth are removed, the feelings will naturally fade. A man who understands this doesn't get mad at the weather of emotions. He learns how to be the kind of man who naturally keeps the sun shining in his relationship. If you are seeing these signs, the most important thing to do is to stop chasing. When a woman is losing feelings, chasing her only confirms her decision. It makes you look weak and desperate. Instead, you must turn your focus inward. You must become the best version of yourself for your sake, not for hers. You must regain your mission, your health, and your social life. Sometimes, when a man regains his edge and stops being so focused on the woman, she suddenly sees the man she fell in love with again. But even if she doesn't come back, you win because you have rebuilt yourself. The truth is that feelings are fluid. They can go out like the tide, but they can also come back in if the right conditions are met. However, you should never wait for someone to find their feelings for you. You must be so secure in your own value that you are willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't see it. This self-respect is the most attractive trait a man can have. It is the very thing that makes a woman want to stay and the thing that ensures you will be okay even if she leaves. We have looked at how respect acts as the foundation for a woman's feelings and how a loss of that respect can cause her to detach. When a man stops leading or loses his mission, the attraction begins to fade. Now, we must understand the second half of this psychological journey. We will look at how to handle the void that is left behind and how to build a version of yourself that is so strong, it doesn't rely on the changing emotions of others. In relationship psychology, there is a concept known as the emotional echo. This is when a woman has already lost feelings, but she stays in the relationship for a while because she is used to the routine. She might still say, "I love you," but it sounds like an echo. It has no weight or warmth behind it. During this phase, she is mentally packing her bags. She is preparing herself for a life without you. Many men feel this change but try to ignore it, hoping it will just go away. But observations show that ignoring the echo only makes the final breakup more painful. To move forward, you must be willing to hear the silence behind her words. If this is hitting, it's because you're not here for noise. You're here to understand. Most people react. Few people step back and actually think. This space is for those who question before they conclude and look deeper instead of louder. If that's how you move, subscribe and stay tapped in. Drop your perspective below. That's where the real conversations happen. Clarity over confusion. Awareness over assumption. Now let's go deeper. One of the most important things a man can do when he senses feelings are fading is to reestablish the frame. The frame is the psychological boundary of the relationship. It is the set of rules and values that you live by. When a man loses his frame, he starts living according to the woman's moods. If she is happy, he is happy. If she is cold, he is sad. This makes him unstable. To bring attraction back, or to at least save your own dignity, you must return to your own frame. You must decide what you will and will not accept in a relationship. If you are being treated with indifference, you must be willing to walk away. Paradoxically, the willingness to leave is often the very thing that makes a woman stop and realize what she is about to lose. Let's look at the story of a man named Thomas. Thomas noticed his wife was becoming very distant and critical. Instead of arguing or begging for her attention, Thomas took a deep breath and looked at his own life. He realized he had become lazy. He had stopped going to the gym, his business was slowing down, and he had no hobbies. He didn't blame his wife. He blamed his own lack of discipline. Thomas started waking up at 5 a.m. to run. He put extra hours into his work and started learning a new language. He didn't do it to win her back. He did it because he realized he had let himself down. For a few weeks, she didn't say anything. But as Thomas became more confident and busy, she noticed a change. He wasn't waiting for her to be happy anymore. He was happy on his own. This positive outcome happened because Thomas focused on self-correction rather than partner correction. By rebuilding his own value, he reminded her why she fell in love with him in the first place. They are now stronger than ever because Thomas learned that his primary relationship must always be with his own potential. Another behavioral trend we see is the validation addiction. Many people today rely on likes, comments, and outside attention to feel good. If a woman feels she isn't getting enough excitement from her partner, she might subconsciously seek it elsewhere. This doesn't always mean cheating. It can just be a mental wandering. To combat this, a man must provide polarity. Polarity is the tension between masculine and feminine energy. If you are too soft or too available, the polarity disappears and the relationship feels flat. By maintaining your masculine edge, being decisive, protective, and focused, you create the space for her to stay in her feminine energy. When polarity is strong, feelings are much harder to lose. We must also talk about the power of non-reaction. When a woman is losing feelings, she might test the man by being difficult or cold. She is subconsciously checking to see if he is still the strong man she thought he was. If he reacts with anger or tears, he fails the test. He shows that he is easily controlled by her emotions. But if he remains calm and unbothered, if he has non-reaction, he shows that his peace of mind is not dependent on her. This strength is highly attractive. It shows that he is a safe harbor who can handle the storms of life. Observations of human behavior suggest that interest is like a fire. It needs oxygen to burn. Oxygen in a relationship is space. If you are always there, always texting, and always checking in, you are smothering the fire. You are removing the oxygen. To bring feelings back, you must give the relationship air. You must be willing to let her miss you. Silence is a powerful tool. It allows the other person to feel the lack of your presence. If you never leave, they can never feel what it's like to not have you. Finally, we must understand the psychology of transition. If, despite your best efforts, the feelings are truly gone, you must accept it with grace. There is no use in trying to convince someone to love you. Love is a gift, not a debt. If the relationship ends, do not see it as a failure of your value. See it as a mismatched chapter. Use the pain as fuel for your own growth. The greatest version of you is often born in the fire of a broken heart. The truth about women who lose feelings is that they are often responding to a change in the emotional atmosphere. As a man, you are the architect of that atmosphere. By staying focused on your mission, maintaining your self-respect, and leading with clarity, you create an environment where love can grow and stay. But remember, the most important feeling is the one you have for yourself. When you love and respect yourself, you will always find a partner who does the same. Making it to this point says more than you think. Most people skim the surface. They hear just enough to react, but not enough to understand. You stayed, which means you're willing to sit with ideas, to question patterns, and to see things more clearly than most. That's where real growth begins. If this perspective gave you something to think about, stay connected. Subscribe and be part of a space where we don't rush to judge. We learn to understand. Leave your thoughts below, not to argue, but to add depth to the conversation. Keep sharpening your awareness. I'll meet you in the next one.